We should be showing not only the nation in terms of solar and other energy, but the world in terms of what we can do in terms of renewable energy. Can I put on a slide to show you what we're actually doing in terms of petroleum costs and other things before you wrap up, Sarah?
Yes, and as you're aware, in recent events, we did lose power to the entire island of Oahu. And I guess this would be leading into that.
Did we lose power? We lost credibility in Hawaiian Electric because we thought that when, in October of 2006, when the earthquake came, that they learned how to prevent this. Right now, they still haven't actually pinpointed what the cause was. But there's a lot of frustration when they didn't see any damage from the lightning, and that was the biggest suspect. Whether it was something that was preventable, we remained with the jury out. But I suspect that we've got to do a better way of generating electricity. If you look at this graph, what we're basically doing is buying $7 billion worth of petroleum, and as the highest dependent state in the nation, we are just burning up Middle Eastern oil and other parts of the world that are not too friendly to us for the sake of keeping our lights on. We've got to diversify, and heretofore we have been unfriendly into renewables, but look at the cost that we're paying. If we can put the other slide on there. And by the way, this is the high technology when our laptop doesn't work. We go back to the old slides. People will wonder, hey, you guys are really behind, you Republicans. Well, we had a technological glitch, and it's not working as well. But look at the graph, though. Hawaii has the highest electricity prices in the United States, 20-some cents per kilowatt. Even on Maui and the Big Island and Kauai, I think it's 32 cents. It's humongous. And not that it's going to be any conciliation, but if you look at what our capacity just for wind farm is, look at that map of Oahu. We have one of the highest capacities for turbine wind generation of electricity. The percentage of turbine generated electricity now is a small, minute percentage. But I do know that there's a man on Lanai by the name of David Murdoch who came to the legislature and held a meeting among the leadership and said, I've got $1 billion I want to put into the state to get a full turbine windmill manufacturing electricity production capacity, and I'm going to put it underneath with a cable to Oahu, and we're going to supplement the grid. He said it would take 5 to 10 years to get through the permitting process, which is now in place. And then, quite frankly, we've got to do much better in terms of permitting and planning the way that these things are given out. Because people like that, when they say there's $1 billion and we kind of sit on it, and we let them go away and they take their money and they say, well, you know, that's something the government's got to do. We're going to have to do a subsidy. Well, this Murdoch issue, I hope we're going to take up very seriously in this next session and expedite permitting, expedite the whole environmental impact statement, still watching over the environment, but doing it in such a way that you don't have to be like the train engine moves and then the things one by one and then the caboose finally goes, but we do it like a shotgun the way they do it in a golf tournament. Everybody kicks off at the same time and these processes can be done. My concern is we as policymakers are not going to expedite it. People with the funds who want to get into renewable energy are going to fall back and say, look, you guys take too long. I already know that Google, by the way, that's doing underground cables from the US to Asia, has specifically not stopped in this state, and I speak as a member of the Broadband Task Force, because it's too bureaucratic and too unfriendly by their regulations. We have got to wake up to the reality. If we're going to get into the global economy, we've got to be plugged in and hardwired. Fortunately, President Obama is going to have a broadband emphasis in some of the infrastructure because we've got to frankly get away from this dependency on petroleum burning.
You know, Gene, I think you touched on something. You know, no matter what we think here in the island, although that is extremely important, people are making decisions, investors are making decisions, governments are making decisions based upon how we operate. So, for instance, you being on that task force and having that information that says they're bypassing Hawaii. You know, they're bypassing Hawaii, something, yeah, that's pretty shocking. And how many companies or corporations that would want to be home in Hawaii and bring money here. And that's what we're always trying to do to work on our economy, is how do we bring outside money without, too much detriment on our state, our island state, but how do we bring in that money instead of paying out that money to other countries, like in oil? So how do we do that? And when you have opportunities in renewable energy, in which we have commitment not only federally, but with our governor here and most of our legislators, how are we able to work with that and pull it together for the benefit of Hawaii? And I think that's very key as we move forward.
So how can we create a more business-friendly climate? Is that what we're getting at? Mm-hmm. How can we do that at the state legislature?
I think keeping with the policies of Governor Lingle, that we are open for business. We are not going to shut down with higher taxes and other things that keep people away. We got to speak with the Googles of the world. We got to show them that there are people who are very interested in their bringing the cable here and stopping here. We've got to talk to the airlines and other people who otherwise have an impression because of the Forbes ratings and the magazines, even though we're up from, I think in 2006, we were in the 37th ranked in the nation, and now we are 26th in the nation in terms of being business friendly. So we're getting better. We have to keep on that same trajectory. But we have to show we're a leader. And being a leader in these areas, I think, for example, what the governor did with electric cars. We are going to have, hopefully, some incentives come out of this legislative session where we will incentivize electric cars using renewable energy. I personally won't rest until I see a solar on every roof. A solar on every roof, because we've got sunshine in every nook and cranny of this state, and we've taken it for granted. Just like Hawaii has lived off of its good looks. We've lived off of petroleum for too long. We now got to do smart solar usage. We got to get low-cost loans for everybody for what they're saving between what they're paying now for high electricity bills and what they would be saving with solar on the roof. And I put myself as one of the guilty 200,000 who don't have it, 100,000 do have it. We got 2/3 to go yet.
I do want to mention one more thing about, a couple other things in regards to business. We have to at least stay or not increase the burden in regards to workers' comp and some of those things. When you're talking about bureaucracies that businesses have to deal with, approvals and all kinds of things in order to start a business here in Hawaii. I think that those things all have to be revisited, because if we are chasing businesses away on one end with our taxes and our bureaucracy, and on another side we're trying to pull them in, it's a tension that we don't need. We need to be able to say we are open for business, and that reflects in our in the laws that we create. One thing that we don't need here in Hawaii is like a card check bill.
It's coming.
And it's coming.
It's coming.
And that's
tell people what it is.
You tell people what it is, Mr. Small Businessman.
The card check bill is basically a little card that you sign in your private company with someone asking you to sign it, so you can become a union member, and then you can unionize if all the cards equal one more than 50%. Your small business, your farm, your flower shop, your restaurant becomes a union area. Now, there's nothing generically wrong with unions, but there's certain times and places and companies that have more affinity for them than just massive unionization, which will likely result from this card check bill coming here. It was passed last year. The governor vetoed it. It was not overridden. But it's something, because basically unionization has lessened itself in its impact in the private sector. It's something that now as a
push forward.
As another way of getting back
pushed, yeah,
to energize private sector unions.